Within the UK Professional Standards Framework, it is really important to ensure that your application shows that you've engaged in successful coordination, support, management, or mentoring of others in relation to learning and teaching. You need to show that you're working to support and influence colleagues' practice in an informed and values-driven manner in line with the framework. How to do this can be tricky. It's suggested that the following steps might help. First, think about where you've had an influence on others. This can be a formal influence, such as working on a university or departmental committee. It could be through a formally held role, such as being a course manager or a course tutor. Or it might be through informal channels, such as being the go-to person in your building for assessment and feedback advice. Next, you will need to describe your influence. Think about who you influenced and what impact you had. Was your influence on new staff, colleagues that you work alongside, colleagues that you manage or formally mentor, others across your department, or attendees at events that you've hosted? Have conversations with these individuals and identify what happened as a result of your intervention, support, or activity, and perhaps collect their quotes. People may say things like, "After I saw you using those quizzes in class, I decided I should try this too." They might say, "You asked probing questions during the validation event, which helped me and the rest of the course team to go back and rethink some of our curriculum. It prompted us to create a different, higher quality programme." They might say, "Without your support, I would never have tried audio feedback. You made it seem simple and showed me that it could be both efficient and personal." These kinds of quotes really get to the heart of your impact and influence. They help your application to feel real and authentic. After all, it's possible to be on a committee without serious engagement, so you need to surface the evidence that shows that you haven't just attended events, that you haven't just presented your research, that you haven't just undertaken high quality assessment and feedback. You actually need to engage that you've had that impact and influence on others. It's very difficult to claim that you've had an impact on others without checking it out. This process, although taking some time, can really reinforce the value of your work and help you stand back to see what role you play in your organisation. Quotes can be used for other purposes too, such as promotion applications or other awards. Make sure you include these quotes in your application and also draw upon any data that you might have to show the scale of your impact. For example, you may say, "After supporting colleagues in my department, 12 more staff are using digital feedback, which in turn impacts 260 students." It's important to try and quantify and survey your influence. So you've helped influence others, and that's great, but the next step is to think about the approaches that you use. Did you influence people by chance, or did you have a clear plan? For example, if you supported others in their feedback practice, you might have modelled support by sharing exemplary practice at events. You might have offered peer support in a friendly manner which was not judgmental and which put people at ease. Or you might have introduced a new policy. There are many ways to influence, but say which approach you used and why this was the best choice. If there were difficulties with the approach that you used, it's okay to talk about that too. You may review what worked well and say other ways in which you might have worked better to support others. An example might help. If you help a colleague by mentoring, say what techniques you used and why these were chosen. You might have used informal meetings, providing signposting to resources, but being conscious to act as a filter so not to overwhelm new colleagues. You can then point to literature on mentoring and support, or challenge the approach you've taken using evidence on what makes good mentoring. This step in your application shows that your support for others is conscious, thought through, and intentional. Reviewing your approaches for supporting others also gives a chance to ask yourself questions such as, how might I improve my approach to working with others? What methods might be more effective? Finally, after looking back, consider looking forward across your application and ask where next. How will I continue to support colleagues in the future? What might I change about my approach? And what issues will I endeavour to support in future? These might be informed by events in the wider HE sector, trends in society, or by your institutional mission and strategy. Take an informed view of where next to complete the reflection. In your application, the consideration of your impact and influence on other people's teaching and support of learning needs to be evident in a range of situations and instances. Simply citing one or two cases is not enough. We need to remember that senior fellowship is for those who have had a sustained track record. If you are not ready to apply, then use this guidance to motivate further action and collate evidence along the way to support your later application.